All right. Carnivore Soldier coming at you from Austin, Texas. It's another Wednesday. It's the last Wednesday of the year, guys. This is it. The game on. 2024 is upon us. You made it to the last hump day. I hope you've stuck by your guns. Some of you guys fell off. Some of you guys slipped and fell. It's time to pick yourselves up by the bootstraps and carry on. Just jump on that horse like no one saw you fall off and ride. Anyway, I got a special guest. You probably saw, some of you saw us earlier. DC Learning to Live is here. And I'm going to bring him in real quick.
Hello,
hey,
everyone.
Buddy. Go ahead and introduce yourself real quick. Where you're from, what you're doing, carnivore, blah, blah,
blah. Okay. I'm DC. I'm DC Learning to Live channel. Let me see. I've been stage 4 follicular lymphoma, blood cancer twice. 3 years of chemotherapy, 5.5 years stuck in bed, fighting back, and just starting life again, learning to live again. So 50 years old. Now 50 is the new 20. On carnivore.
Hey, learning to live is something that I'm doing now because I was just preparing for death, and now I'm learning to live. I mean, I really was on that downward slope, and just accepting the eventuality. I have a, and I've always had this, but I've got a coin. In the military, we have coins, right? We have challenge coins. And I've got one coin. It's a memento mori coin. I don't know if you know what that is. But it says,
memento mori means that, death is, you're going to die at some point.
That's right. So it's a stoicism thing. And I always live by, I could be dead tomorrow. Because lightning can strike, car could crash, whatever. Being carnivore though has changed my mind. I mean, I still have that, and I keep it on my desk, so I always know that this is today. I have to enjoy and to do things right and to make an impact. So I live day to day, but now I'm planning ahead, right? Which I wasn't doing. I am learning to live, DC. I am. I was not living. I was existing.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly why I name my channel Learning to Live, because we are all learning to live. No one's an expert on life, and especially now, starting life again on the carnivore diet, you have or for me especially, I've pretty much I've been dead. I've seen what it's like. I was living, even after that I was living just week to week and blood test to blood test, and there was no future to plan for. There wasn't anything to look forward to at all. So now it's a completely different story, and like I said before, we are just learning to live.
Yeah, 100%. Look who we got. Dante Peregno.
Hey Larry, what's going on?
How's it going, brother? Love the shirt.
Yeah, it's a nice shirt, man. Thought I'd wear it in your honor tonight.
Last Wednesday of the year, Dante. I was just saying, and we were just talking about his name is DC Learning to Live. I don't know if you know him. He survived blood cancer stage 4 twice. And when they told me he had 3 months to live, that was 9 years ago. And he's full carnivore and in full remission, probably cancer free pretty soon. I don't know, how long does it take to be declared cancer free, DC?
I'll let you know when they tell me. But
he's totally
that's
normal.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
that is amazing. It is really amazing the amount of things that I've heard that people have been able to fix.
Yeah.
Sorry, couldn't tell if it was my camera or what.
Yeah, it's like it's like a real life miracle that in our presence, right? To see this the way, if you eat properly, if you eat a diet we're supposed to eat, our body really is engineered so well. It's a marvel. It is a marvel.
Like I keep saying to people, God doesn't make mistakes. If you feed it the right food, your body is incredibly resilient. It really is.
It's amazing that our bodies last as long as they do eating the garbage we've eaten.
Yeah,
exactly. Right. We abused them so badly over the decades and decades, for me anyway. Yeah. So I was just saying that I'm learning to live again, because before carnivore, before March, before I saw your video, Dante, and not to put you on a pedestal, but you're still here doing it, which is really important. And that's what I told people today on the other live stream I was on. I said, when everyone's putting carnivore videos out and everything, but make sure people are actually getting results, and what they say is in alignment with like a couple of people, like maybe Dr. Baker, Dr. Berry, and Dr. Chafee. And if that's the case, then that's probably a good person to follow, but you have to discriminate, because some people are just making YouTube channels because it's a popular topic. And I think you have to be careful.
Yeah. I mean, that's always the case, is that somebody could get out there and just say what somebody else is saying and not be experiencing it. But I think that for the most part, the folks that are getting on there and talking about this are just as amazed as we are, with what's changed. True. And it's hard not to want to talk about it when you've had such a big change. Might be a little easier to hear me.
Yeah, it's much better. I have seen a few people, though, that I was wondering, especially when I was new, I was like, why are they still gaining weight after doing this a year? Or, why are they having problems? And then now I look back and I see they're eating all this cheese and they have all these great recipes they're doing. I'm like, oh, okay. They're kind of ketovore, really. I mean, they're adding all these seasonings and they're doing nuts and stuff. And I'm like, that's not really carnivore, but they call their channel carnivore. So I'm like, okay, you have to be careful.
Yeah. I have this off again, on again relationship with cheese, that it's never good, but somehow, because it was on Atkins and because a lot of carnivores eat cheese, it's an easy one to excuse, especially when there's cheese platters out for the holidays. I'm saying no to every other thing, but then I think, it's cheese, it's animal, but yet it has the same result every time.
Yeah.
Keep trying to say no to it, but it keeps talking me into it, or it's like you only need this much of an excuse to do something you want to do.
That's the definition of insanity, right?
Yeah. But there's always that inner voice that you've got to wrestle every day. Get up, go to the gym, or don't eat that, don't eat this. You're always wrestling with that inner voice.
Right. If you guys have questions, please put Q's in front of it so I can find them easier. No questions yet that I see. Just saying hi to people. Welcome in. So what have you been up to today, Dante? Did you work, or were you off enjoying family?
I tell you, my work situation has been weird. I left a job just before Thanksgiving because I was supposed to be starting a new one right after Thanksgiving. And then that got delayed because of construction. And then it was supposed to be at the middle of December. And then it was supposed to be at the end of December. And now it's supposed to be the second week in January. So it's been weird because I've been all month long getting ready to get a call or getting ready to start doing something, and then nothing happens. And then I didn't travel anywhere because I was planning on starting this new thing. And then for the holidays, we tried to make plans for Christmas, but people got sick on one end of the family we were going to go see. And then we had to wait. And then my wife wasn't feeling good. And it was such a weird time because I didn't have any real work to do. I was going to work on the channel, but then my wife wasn't feeling good, so I wanted to spend time with her. So I've just been lazy this whole Christmas 4 or 5 days, it seems like, just sitting around doing nothing. That's not my normal, but it's a good reminder sometimes, because sometimes I feel like I got too much going on, but then when I get a few days where I feel like I didn't get anything done, I hate that feeling. And it motivates me to want to get back into doing the things that I should be doing. So it'll be good. But I mean, it's just been rough with I think the weather change. We had both kids getting sick multiple times over the past few months. The amazing thing to me is that I haven't been sick through all these times that everybody's gotten sick this year. That used to be the thing for me. I was the first one to get sick. If one of the kids started coughing, it was like, okay, let's try to plan this where we can all get it together and then not trade it around for a few weeks. But now it's like they get sick and I just push right through, and that's been a really nice change. I mean, it's almost like you say, when we were talking about people making these channels, so many things change because of this. It's almost, it feels like it's too good to be true even when you're experiencing it.
I agree.
It does.
I haven't been sick either. And my son, and not since March, And I usually get sick in the summer at least once. I get a summer flu or something, or in the fall, or both. And my son even had strep, and I took care of him. And I thought, well, I'm probably going to get this, and I didn't. And I was like, wow, this is pretty legit, this thing. I mean, I'm feeling good. So now, how long have you been carnivore, Dante? I forgot how old that video was.
January 14th will be 3 years.
3 years. Congratulations, man. That's awesome. You're coming up on your 3-year anniversary, your carniversary.
Yep. Carniversary.
Good deal, man. And you're still here. You haven't died of scurvy yet. So that's good news.
Yeah, I think it takes a little less time than 3 years to develop. So I don't think it's coming.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was watching, I think Dr. Barry was talking about it, like that if you're not eating plants, your vitamin C requirement is so much lower than the RDA.
Yeah.
And actually, a good friend of mine, George Goodenough from the UK, he's a soldier I interviewed. He said that the British Navy had a meat protocol for sailors that had scurvy. So the only reason sailors got scurvy is because they were fed bread on the ships, and they'd run out of limes. They called them limeys because they'd eat limes, and they would get scurvy. But if sailors came back with scurvy, they gave them meat to get rid of the scurvy, and they just ate meat. So that's pretty interesting. I need to look that up, but he told me about it, and the guy was an intel guy, so he's usually got the facts. Very interesting. So Thomas Hughes says it's actually nanograms instead of milligrams when you're on for meat eaters. I agree with that. I think so. We don't have to have nearly the concentration of vitamin C because we don't have those. I guess those anti-nutrients in plants.
Yeah,
blocking it.
It's not. Yeah, they're different molecules too. Like you can't absorb from plants. You can only absorb from fats and the meat. So you could eat plants all day long. You could eat a ton of plants, and you're still not going to get the same nutrients that you get from like half a kilo of steak.
Yeah. So that's kind of the way it works. Cast Iron Carnivore, he's another UK guy. It's really late there. He's just dropping in to say hi, to say goodbye. Don't stay up too late there, buddy. Get some sleep. Let's see.
Hi, Diane.
A lot of people here. Sarah. Sugar competes with vitamin C for the glucose 4 receptor. So, okay, Thomas Hughes, this guy's really in the know. He's a good guy. A former Coast Guard guy, another military vet. We got a lot of vets in here, and of course, my channel does. And Thomas has been carnivore for years now. Thomas, go ahead and type in how many years you've been carnivore. I forget how many it was, but I know he's really knowledgeable. So, and that's part of being carnivore too, is building your knowledge level and becoming learning this stuff. You need to kind of learn it. So when people ask you questions, you can tell them what the facts are. And it's good to keep up on the videos and reading. He's been 2.8 years.
When you talk about vitamin C and stuff, they need other vitamins and minerals to help the absorption that you only get from animal fats as well, like D3 and K2 and things like that. So it's not like you just take vitamin C and everything's good.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's with all the RDA levels too. They're all based on a standard American diet, which is 70% plant-based, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And so that's a big deal. And Dante, we were talking about like the environmental impact of eating meat versus eating processed foods. And I was bringing up in the last time DC and I were talking was, when you get a packaged bar, like a Quest bar, right? That bar is made up of components made in other factories. That's made in a factory, but every component in there is from other factories. So the energy required to make the ink, the dye, the sweetener, the seed oils, those are all different factories drawing energy and making waste. And if you think about all the things you have to do to get that thing made and then ship it out, right, and store it, compared to like butchering a cow with a local butcher, it's like not even close. The environmental impact, and you gotta look at the full system. You can't just look at, oh, this bar is small and it's versus how cow is eating and drinking water and belching, right? So
plus you gotta cows are the perfect factory. Like they give back more than they take.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
But yeah, I run into even carnivores sometimes that'll get on to the sustainability of eating this way, and they'll jump on that notion of, well, what if everybody did this? I'm like, well, what if questions don't always have useful information, because there's no if that anybody's going to all do the same thing anyway.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't even make sense. But then when you talk about it like that, how much has to go into the line of the, what do you call it? Chain of supply, or the supply chain, to make most of this food stuff work. If they were just raising animals properly, it would be actually a lot easier than it is to do all the stuff that they do to make all these processed foods.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, you think about all the packaging, there's ink on there, it's printed. That stuff's done in one factory, right? And then you got like seed oils that are basically they're petrochemical plants. That's what they are. They're cracking oils, and but they're not petroleum, they're just chemical plants, but they're very similar. And then you've got like sweeteners have to be made. The flours out of almond have to be made. All these things have to be made somewhere. And there's processes going on. Then they ship all these parts around to this factory that's going to make a Quest bar, right? And so that's all that fuel getting burned off, just moving stuff over there. And then all the energy of running the machines and then sealing each bag. And then we generate so much more trash, right? Because, I mean, I generate so little trash now eating.
Yeah.
It's just like a styrofoam thing and a little wrapper on it. And that's it. And it's meat.
Yeah, if I could just talk him into wrapping the meat the way I want them in the freezer when I get them from the store, we'd all save more.
Yeah, like individually wrap them in butcher paper. That'd be fantastic, right?
Yeah.
That'd be good stuff. All right. So any questions here? I don't see any questions yet. Let's blame Kyle for everything.
At 11:18.
Do we?
Yeah.
Let's blame cows for everything.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Everything that's essential for life on this planet and for us is demonized.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we had 130 million buffalo here before the U.S. government paid to get them killed to punish the Indians, which was a terrible idea. But so, that shows that this land is designed, in America anyway, designed to support that kind of herbivore,
Well, that's where our topsoil comes from,
Yeah, exactly. That's like Zoe was talking about, right? The topsoil comes from that.
Without ruminant animals, like we have no topsoil. And without topsoil, we can't grow anything.
All right. So, has any of you interviewed anyone whose aches and pains took a long time to go in carnivore? I'm 4 months carnivore, still aching, starting lion diet in January to see if it helps. Anyone want to take this?
Yeah, I haven't interviewed anyone who's had that trouble, but like Larry said this morning, if you just eliminate everything, if you are still taking some things outside, like it could be dairy or something else, just not 100% strict carnivore, then there's going to be something there that's going to be causing that. So if you go try the lion diet and eliminate everything, and then see how you go. I think that's, like we said this morning as well, everything is going to be an experiment, and you're going to have to work out for yourself what works best for you. But, a good way to start is to eliminate everything that, is not good, Get rid of coffee and things like that.
And I'm not, none of us are doctors here. We're just telling our experience, right? This is not medical advice, but I agree with that. That's why I went lion. And I did add coffee back in. The arthritis came in, and I had to remove it again, and it went away. So once you remove everything, then you'll know what's causing issues. You won't until then. It'd be guessing. Dante, what do you think? You got anything else?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. You guys nailed it, though. I mean, it's the ruminant animals that are key for me, because when I eat pork or chicken, I even notice getting, weight issues, pain issues, brain fog issues, all kind of different things can pop up. Heck, it can even go back into keto flu, just eating the wrong kind of meat. But and eating cheese will definitely do that. It's one of those things where you feel like, the other carnivores can eat this, so I can too. But sometimes you've got to find out what doesn't work for you and just stick with that. And getting those things out of your life for a while is the only way to find out. Because there's some people that do great on a regular all meat, cheese, whatever carnivore. But there's a few of us, it seems like we've got to get down to those clean meats to really to get all the healing that comes from this. And even after you've been doing it for years, you may still, be going through some healing of some kind, because I mean, I spent 48 years damaging this body. I don't imagine it all instantly healed just because I started feeling better within the first 30 days or progressively better even after that. But I mean, within 30 days, I had so much notable change. It was almost like, oh, I'm healed. But my organs were still suffering from insulin resistance, and those problems don't just go away immediately. Insulin, when it's in high quantities in your body, causes things to grow faster than they should. So I might be struggling with some of the issues where organs are larger than they should be for my age, and then that could cause problems. So, I mean, getting your hormones straight is a lot of times probably the most important one. And sometimes people don't realize that they need to check into their iodine levels. I know that that's something, whether you're on the standard American diet or even carnivore diet, you got to keep an eye on your iodine levels, especially if you've got any thyroid issues where you've got too much thyroid hormone. But that's something that I had to make an adjustment for, because I checked the iodine levels by doing a skin patch test, and then I did a urine loading test, and both of them showed that I was low. So I've been supplementing iodine ever since, and I think it's done a whole lot of good overall, because there was a period where I felt like I was getting worn out a little faster, and then that went away. And I think it had a lot to do with that. But it's one of those things. It's like so many things. It's hard to put a finger on exactly what helps, but sometimes iodine can be a problem for people.
Like Dr.
That's
Barry
what I keep telling people too. We're all coming from different places too, so we're going to need different things to get us back to a healthy state. We're going to need different processes to do that. A lot of people, they can go, they're in a healthy, they're fairly healthy to start with, and they can just go straight on to carnivore and everything is good. But there's a lot of people are just going to need to supplement a few things until we get to a healthy state, because it does take a long time for your body to heal. Even though a lot happens in a short period by comparison to how long you've been on the standard Western diet, it still takes time for your body to heal. And it feels great now because it feels better than what it was before. But I can imagine in next year and the year after, it's just going to keep getting better and better,
Yeah, and I saw a video with Dr. Barry on the iodine, and apparently low iodine can mimic thyroid issues and low energy issues. And that's maybe what you were running into, where you were getting tired early or not, performing as you thought you should. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's like mimicking that low thyroid. So favorite steak excluding ribeye. I got to say, ribeye is the only steak I really eat now. And now a tomahawk, that's still ribeye. I'll eat that. But if I'm going to eat I'll eat roast. I got some Wagyu roast, and I made a pot roast out of it. And oh my gosh, was that amazing. With some of my sister for Thanksgiving, she gave me homemade beef broth, a big old jar. So I put that in there, and oh, it was so good. That was like, So I love pot roast. My son does too. So I eat primarily pot roast, ground beef, and ribeye. I don't even like New York strip. It's way too lean. And I won't even look at, the other ones. I mean, so I'll eat beef ribs. I mean, I'll eat a rib. I'll go to barbecue and get brisket. But that's not a steak, right? So that's me. What about you guys?
I actually like the New York strip steak. It was one of my favorites, especially early on. And I haven't done it in a while because I find the deals on ribeyes that are so good, they're usually better than the New York strip steak prices. So when I find those, I buy a lot of them, and then I don't need any. But I've been wanting to experiment going back to a lower fat variation just to see some differences, because I've been doing a lot of fat for a while now, and I'm still struggling with keeping the weight off. And I think to myself, it's not supposed to. I understand that if you're eating fat, you're not going to be burning your own fat as much. But then there's the other side of the coin where eating too much protein, turning that into glucose, can cause the weight issues. So it's like, well, which one is it for me? And why is it one for some and different for others? And trying to get that narrowed down. But I'd like to go back to New York strip steak for, a couple of weeks at least and see if I notice a difference, and cutting out the extra fat that I add just for a couple of weeks and see if it makes a difference, because it's just one of those, like I say, I've heard it both ways. Going more fat can help you lose weight, and going more protein can help you lose weight. I just want to get rid of this little tire that came back around the waist area.
Mm. Well,
T-bone is always good.
T-bone's good.
That's
T-bone's
strip
good.
steak and fillet. So how can you go wrong?
Yeah.
At least a little bit of fillet. I mean, technically the porterhouse is with the fillet, but you still get a little bit of fillet on a T-bone.
What about you, DC? What's your steak of choice? If other than ribeye?
Yeah, I like the porterhouse. There's a nice steak. Chuck steak's great. I like the fattier the better. I also like lamb because it's very fatty. Like you're talking about the other, for me, the more fat the better. That's you're gonna get more nutrients. Like you said, higher protein diets usually you do get the same insulin spike as you do from like carbohydrates if you get too much protein, and it tends to lead to kidney problems and things like that later on as well, especially if you're long term. I think the higher the fat, the leaner you'll get, and certainly the healthier your lymphatic system will be as well, which is also responsible for feeding your endocrine system and your thymus, so that you can produce T cells and other things. So a high fat diet is always, I think, is far more beneficial than a high protein. So I mean, you don't actually get a whole lot of protein out of a steak anyway. You usually only get even on a carnivore, maybe 20 grams, 20, 30 grams of protein. There's not a lot. I mean, in a steak, 75% of it's water, and then it's protein, and then it's fat,
Juicy.
So, yeah.
But I always felt like I was getting a lot more, because I don't know how they do all that measuring. I look at my steak and I'm thinking, all right, this thing's 1.5 pounds, or 1 3/4 pound steak. How in the world is this anywhere close to 20 or 40? Heck, it's probably closer to 100 grams, I'm thinking. But that's just not something I'm good at measuring. I don't think about that stuff so much. I've just eaten meat and been happy, but I've been trying to get better at understanding what it is my body's doing, so that I can know better for myself. And also when people ask questions, I don't just have a dumb look on my face.
Well, when it comes to like hormone production and things like that, I mean, if you feed your lymphatic system the right food, it's going to that'll feeds your endocrine system, and which is responsible for hormone production and things like that. So for me, it's you get most of your nutrients from, well, I do anyway. I get most of my nutrients from fat. But another thing that affects your endocrine system is the chemicals that you use on your body, not just in your body, but the soaps and stuff like that, shampoos and all these chemicals that you wash yourself with every day, and how often you wash yourself. These things get absorbed into the skin, through the skin, and it affects your hormone production as well. So it's something you have to be careful of.
Well, that's definitely something that I started weeding out a while back. I didn't want to use deodorants that had aluminum in them years before this. And then I've gotten to where I hardly ever need deodorant at all. Usually only after I eat something I shouldn't have do I get body odor now. But I mean, when I'm eating meat only, I don't typically get body odor. And then the soaps I use are tallow soaps, and skin creams are all tallow based.
Yep.
So I don't like to put chemicals on my body as much as I possibly can. Now, there's so many things that everybody tries to weed out. They worry about what the nonstick coating, if it's stainless steel, and it's like, my gosh, if we worry about everything, we're going to go nuts. But at the same time, I try to weed out as much poison as I can, because I realize our modern society has made poison such a regular thing that we might just have what they may have had 1 or 2 of 100 years ago as a regular part of their day. And now we've got 100 of those things as a regular part of our day with a little bit of poison in them. So it's like we got to cut all that stuff out if we want to really get it. But it's one of those things where I tell people, you got to pick your battles. You got to get to where you can actually use a machine and cook your food and don't worry too much about it, because I don't think there's any perfect way to do anything. But the more we can get the poisons out of our food, obviously, the better we're going to be.
Yeah, right. And I think that a lot of that is like fine tuning to first get the basics down. If you can do, master BBB&E, right? Master that, or Lion, master that. Then you can start worrying about the other stuff. Now you can switch to a tallow soap. That's no big deal, but that shouldn't be your primary focus. Focus primarily on first getting your body healed by what you're putting in your body directly. Yeah. And DC, you've got, I always talk about the why, and people say, well, I keep falling off this diet, and your why is not defined and or big enough, probably both. Yeah. And DC's why is not, he doesn't want to die from cancer. He's got it. And he's a cancer warrior 9 years in. That's a huge why. That will drive him. You think he cheats and looks for cheat days? Guaranteed not. Guaranteed that's not something he does. And if you would treat this like that, like if that's your why, I don't want to get cancer. I don't want to get Alzheimer's. I want to be there for my son's marriage. I want to see my grandson one day. That's a huge why. That keeps me on track, right? I'm on point. And you have to develop that thing, man. It's got to be big. It's not going to be 13 pounds lost for spring break. That's not a why. That will not do it. You will fall off 100%. I guarantee it. So work on that why. Okay, next question. How many of you experienced or known folks who have lingering skin issues from dairy? Anyone?
Yeah. A lot of people do have problems with dairy, and it comes down to our ancestral sort of some people from Africa are not used to as much dairy as, say, Northern Europeans. But apart from that too, is most people, even Northern Europeans, they just build up a tolerance to dairy rather than actually have use it as a staple. Because they've been drinking it from birth. It's a tolerance that we build up over from our lifetime for a lot of people. Some people are great with it and have absolutely no problems. And again, I've always been an advocate for raw dairy. Raw is completely different to the crap you get in the supermarket. Especially here in Australia, it's actually illegal to have raw dairy products or to sell raw dairy products. So you can't get it. It's always pasteurized and it's full of all sorts of crap. So it depends on your source as well. But it's just if you can't handle it, just cut it out. You don't need it.
Yeah, I agree.
And most people, I believe, don't really can't handle it as well as they think they can.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that's hard to let go of if you can make an excuse to keep it.
Yeah, if you don't get it out of if you don't get it out of your diet, you'll never know what it's doing. That's the thing. That's the whole idea of the elimination diet. So
so
right.
That's the best idea is if you go Lion diet, then you try and add something in afterwards. Then you know exactly how that item makes you feel. So you can pull it out anytime you want.
Absolutely. So looks like Missy, and she's down here in Austin with me. She's a local. She found you before she knew about carnivore. She was trying to figure out how to do lamb in a crock pot. Apparently, Dante, you've got a lamb in a crock pot video?
I've probably got several. I was making videos cooking everything I cook, and everything I cook is usually lamb or beef. So there's probably awesome. Some lamb in there.
And then she found you again. She's Missy's gotten off all her meds on carnivore, and she's suffering from lupus, but she is making improvement, right? So, and she's about to go Lion, I believe. Is that right, Missy? I think it is. So she's a warrior. She's out there, fighting the battle, and it's really awesome. Good. So keep it up, Missy.
Right.
All right. Now we got.
I just found Dante a few months ago too.
Here's Bypass Carnivore, another warrior out there. Her dad was Army, so we connected on that. She's used to the Army lingo and the Army way, which I suppose, that's me. So she said when she started carnivore, psoriasis cleared up completely, except a couple lingering spots. Then it had cheese and now has blotches from elbow to wrist. Cheese has to go.
Yeah.
See, because she did that, she knows, and that's
exactly.
the point. Thanks, bypass.
Yeah. So you have
Cast
to
iron
experiment
carnivore.
with this stuff, you know.
Do you guys find you need less sleep?
In the first year and a half to 2 years, I needed a lot less sleep. In the past year, I've noticed I've needed as much sleep as I did before. But the big change in my sleep is that I used to not be able to get to bed at night. I would lay in bed and just look at the back of my eyelids, and the day would go through my mind. And sometimes I'd be there for hours, even wait until the sun came up, finally fall asleep, and never be able to start my day well, always groggy and problems like that. Now, when I lay down to go to sleep, I'm out. I don't even remember what happened just before I went to bed. It's like as soon as my head hits the pillow, I fall asleep. And then when I wake up in the morning, it's kind of reminds me of Eddie Murphy in that Coming to America movie when they're using the spray mist and the music to wake him up, and he just opens his eyes. That's how I feel when I wake up in the morning now. It's like to just come on like a machine.
I know.
I don't always feel like jumping out of bed right away, especially if it's cold, but it's like my brain is instantly in gear, unlike it used to be just like,
that's an amazing feeling, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Before it was like I just couldn't wake up till after I had my coffee, you know. I was like dragging my feet and I got to get some coffee, give me some coffee. But now I'm like, I mean, actually, I was talking to Larry this morning, but, you know, I stayed up late last night watching Sasuke in Japan. And then it was at 12 o'clock. So I had like 3 hours sleep. I got up and I had a chat with Larry, and I feel great. I was up, alert, had absolutely no sleepiness, no drowsiness at all. And it's an amazing feeling, you know. And giving up coffee was brilliant. I don't have that drowsy feeling in the morning at all anymore.
Yeah, Tom brings up a good point down here about how his body follows the sun. I've noticed that too, as I've been working a job up until last month where I was doing a swing shift, and it was really hard for me to adjust to staying up late at night. I had to bring coffee back in because I was working late at night some days and early in the morning other days. And it was the only way I could stay up past 8 or 9 o'clock, because I would just be exhausted by then, ready to go to sleep. And my body is still, I've been trying to get it acclimated to the fact that I know I'm going to be working until close to midnight, 5 nights a week on this new job. And my body, I just wake up now at 7:30. For a long time early on in this diet, I was waking up at 4:30 like crazy. But I finally got acclimated close to where my kids' school schedule is. And now it wants to wake up at 7:30 every day, which would be great if I can get to bed by midnight-ish, midnight 30, because 7 hours is plenty for me. But I've noticed that too. I'm much better at staying to the rhythm my cycle should be based on the sun.
Yeah, the circadian rhythm.
Yeah, there's something to it. All right,
yeah,
question.
Absolutely.
Gave into things, going on and ate like crap for a few weeks. Any advice on re-entering this way of eating, not suffering, or do I just jump back in head first? You're going to suffer. That's all I got to say. There's going to be a price to pay, and it may be worse than the first time. It may be.
Yeah.
But like I said, if you fell off, Kenny, this time before you go in, analyze that. Why did you fall off? What was happening? Look at your why. Make sure your why is big enough. If it's not big enough, find one that is. For me, I lived in fear constantly of having cancer down the road, of getting Alzheimer's, because my mother died of Alzheimer's 10 years older than I am now. And these are things that were always in the back of my mind, always like just on my shoulders. And now I have no fear of that. None. I mean, because I really believe that's all dietary based stuff. And a lot of it, like this guy here, DC, has basically in my book beat cancer. And I know I have tools in the tool bag that if I do get it, I'm going to take care of it. And if it means being more strict, too easy. That's no problem. I can do that all day long. So you need to look at what's going to drive your why that you would never consider. And don't do cheat days. Don't plan to fail.
Yeah.
If you fall off, if you stumble, if you, like Dante had a little bit of food. I went to a Christmas party, Christmas Eve. I had a little bit of food. It jacked my stomach up. I knew it was wrong, but I thought I'm going to have a little bit of this barbecue, pulled pork. It had barbecue sauce in it. I had gas pains all night. I've not had gas pains since March. So this will happen. But don't say, well, I ate one thing, so I'm going to spend the next day and then the next 2 days and the next 3 days eating sugar and stuff. Don't do cheat days. Don't build failure. And we got 126 people in here watching right now, guys. Big crowd. So what do you guys think about that as far as advice of jumping back in?
I think jump back in full force. Sorry,
yeah,
don't go slow with it.
Don't hesitate. Just eliminate everything. But again, like I was saying to Larry this morning as well, is people need to change the way they look at food. It's not a cheat. It's not a cheat. It's not a treat, and it's not a reward, and it's not entertainment. Okay, these are setback foods. Okay, they are setting you back from, holding you back from getting, achieving the goals that you want. This is what you want to think about: is when you look at these foods, or you feel like you want to eat these foods, think about your goals. Okay, what do you want to do? What do you want from this diet? All right. That's, you just need to think about these foods are holding you back. Okay, they're not a cheat, they're not a treat, and they're certainly not a reward. Okay, especially if they're making you sick.
Yeah,
and we understand that these things are all completely normalized in our society, and food is entertainment in our society.
Yeah.
Food is treated in some ways like a drug because people go nuts over it. And they revel in it. They love it. They celebrate it. So, it's what we grew up being used to. And it's going to be difficult to resist those compulsions sometimes when you're in that moment and you're with the family and you want to participate and you want to do all those things. But no matter how many times I say it, though, because we're all going to make that mistake, it's just like, if you can tell yourself no and last through it, you'll look back and say, hey, I didn't have to go through that again. I didn't have to go through the painful digestion for a few days and feeling icky for a few days, or having, like, in some cases, I'd get like my kidneys would actually hurt the next day. They would just feel really hard. Like if I ate some ice cream the day before, it was like, it hits me like, putting poison back in when there hasn't been any there. My body's reacting like, oh no, this is not good.
Isn't it much more sensitive?
Push through.
It's way more sensitive when you've been clean and you introduce just a little bit. My body's super sensitive. It just reacts pretty quick and violently.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, we're just talking about it again this morning too. It's amazing what we had gotten used to before carnivore. We were used to feeling that crap that it didn't bother us. We just thought it was the normal thing.
Okay, so we have Rogerio Sabino, or Rogerio. I don't know how to say it. I guess it's Rogerio probably. I've been trying to eat carnivore. However, at night my body always sends me a message, hey, I'm missing carbs. Give me carbs. And I always fail. Well, again, the why. Make sure you get a big why. And I have a PDF on my website you can download it's called the Carnivore Diet Planning Guide. And it really is talking about how to develop a why and develop a plan to get to the why. So check that out. My website is carnivoresoldier.com. But the message you're getting is the same message that a heroin addict gets when they stop taking heroin. They get a message saying you need heroin or cocaine or whatever drug you're on, or coffee. I mean, cigarettes, nicotine. You're an addict. So your first thing is identify yourself as a sugar addict or carbohydrate addict, and then take appropriate action. I do have a video on how to fight cravings on my YouTube channel. So check that out. What do you guys think besides that? I mean, that's my take on this. I get it. I've been there.
Yeah. Well, I think if you're getting cravings too, you might be hungry. Maybe you're not eating enough. But I would increase your fats. And, if you get in the middle of the night, you get a snack craving, eat butter or eat beef fat. beef fat is fantastic. And it's basically, when you get cravings, your body it's not craving calories, it's craving nutrients. Okay. That's why, we don't survive on calories. We survive on nutrients. And that's what we should be looking for. You want the most nutrient dense snacks or foods that you can find. So anything really high in fat. If I need snacks, for example, I use just beef fat. I'll cook it in the air fryer, or if something cold, I'll just go straight to butter and just eat spoonfuls of butter, and that's all you need. And you will feel satisfied after that. You won't feel like a craving. You won't feel like eating a snack after that.
Also, I've come to find that when you want a specific thing to eat, when you have a craving for something specific, if you realize that that is an emotional need, that is not a hunger need. Hunger is going to want anything. Whatever's available to eat is going to be real hunger. But when you have a craving for something specific, especially if it's something you shouldn't eat, just realize that that's emotional. But like you said, if you can eat something that's got a little fat to it or even a little meat, heck, the hard part for me sometimes is when it's getting close to the end of the day and I feel like, well, I've kind of eaten enough for the day, but I want something. It's hard to want to make another steak for that. But heck, just make one and cut it in half, save half for the morning, eat it with your eggs.
Yeah.
But if you eat something that's good for you, it'll help you fight that emotional need for the other thing that you're craving.
And there are actual physiological cravings for sugar because it's an addiction, and sweeteners maintain that. So if you're doing Diet Cokes or artificial sweeteners, that will drive that. That's what it did for me when I was on keto.
Absolutely.
I wasn't eating any sugar, but I was eating Quest bars. And Quest bars, now they probably do have some sugars in there, not named sugar, because sugar's got 52 different names apparently now. But I was eating I was drinking diet sodas and, thinking, well, it's 0 calorie. It's good, right? I'm keeping and 0 carb, and I was really keeping my carbs low. But so you have to worry about emotional snacking and then the actual physiological craving that you'll have for something sweet. But also you can use salt to trick your body. If you get that sweet crave, grab a pinch of Redmond salt, put it in your tongue, and that works for a lot of people too. So, but salted butter does the same thing. You're getting the salt and you're actually getting a good nutrient too, like DC said. So, all right, I got another one here. Let's see. All right. Using a deodorant called Crystal, mineral salt, totally safe, prevents odors. And Dave Saunier is another veteran on my team here. He's a Navy vet, retired, and carnivore athlete. He is actually a lean mass hyper responder. So he's actually got that body type, and he's an endurance athlete with bicycles now. So a really interesting guy, knows a lot about cholesterol. So it's totally safe, prevents odor from bacterial growth. Does anyone use it? It's chem-free. I might check that out, man. That looks interesting. Crystal. It's a mineral salt deodorant. I don't use any right now, except for when I go on dates. And it's just really a habit. I don't think I need it. I just do because I'm like, I'll just put it on. So I have like one stick of deodorant. It probably lasts me 15 years now because I don't go on that many dates, right? But do y'all notice your dreams are more vivid and just cool? Anyone?
I noticed that after about 20 plus years of not having any dreams, I've started having dreams again, which sometimes is a good thing. Sometimes it's not. But as I mentioned before, it's nice to know that it feels like my brain is operating like it's supposed to now, because there was at least 20 years where I never remembered having a dream. And I'd been told, I know some people say you dream 4 or 5 times a night regardless. And I thought, well, it sure is strange that I never remember them. And I just attest it to having my brain running all the wrong nutrients prior to this.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Same. Like after 3 years of, solid heavy dose chemotherapy, my brain was mush.
Yeah.
And for many years afterwards, since coming back on, since being low carb, now carnivore, being able to think and concentrate and remember things has been a very big deal for me. And like even dreams, like I can wake up and I can think, oh, well, that was just a dream. That was really, it feels a lot more. I just feel more alert, not only when I'm awake, but when I'm asleep. You know.
So we got someone else saying yes, they get cravings, eat butter, go with a can of sardines if you get more. And that's some of the stuff in my video I talk about is substitution is one thing you can do where you can substitute. I did bags of bacon. I would fry a pound of bacon when I first started, put it in the refrigerator. And when I got the craving, I just go grab a stick of bacon and eat it. And it usually went away because the salt's there. You know, the bacon tastes good. I mean, maybe not be.
Yeah, but sometimes, like Dante said, it's an emotional thing too. You know, sometimes you feel like,
yes,
you know, like after a certain meal, you think, oh, you know, what would be perfect after this would be ice cream, you know, or you just really crave a certain, you know, thing like ice cream. That's more of it's more of a habit as well, you know. So you need to. Part of the addiction is the fact that they are bad habits. So you need to reintroduce good habits to replace the bad ones, you know?
Yeah. And I think one of the hard ones for a lot of people is I just got these in the mail, these things called Salty. They're made by Keto Chow. They wanted me to try them out. I haven't even tried them yet. But when I look at the names of them, like Coco Loco and Caramel Vibes, one of the things I think to myself is, why do I want to tease myself with these flavors when these are things that I want to avoid anyway? And then when I read, you know, natural flavors and artificial flavors and whatever else they've put in there, any of that stuff is just like Larry said, it's giving drugs to a drug addict. I mean, it just keeps you wanting what you're already fighting with. Now, I wouldn't mind, like, I bet I would like their clean slate version that they got in here because it doesn't have any flavor. But so many people I know, they've got to have the flavor in their supplements because it's the only way they were able to quit soda or something like that. And I guess maybe initially that's not so bad. If you're switching from soda to Relight or to one of these other drinks like Keto Chow, and it's helping you get off of the sugary soda, that's a good thing. But don't let that be the end of the line. If you can get down to where you don't need these artificially sweet flavors that are so much more than our bodies would have normally found in nature, then you'll find that you don't have that desire for those things as much. But if you're getting tricked into thinking you're getting some all the time, your body's constantly craving more of it.
Yeah, it's bad. And then the other thing is this: I think a lot of people that fall into that trap are looking for variety in their diet, and variety is actually the enemy of this diet. You don't want a huge variety. And when I first came in, I was looking for that. And again, the snacking. I don't snack anymore like I did. I don't make a pound of bacon every day. That was my first month. Okay, and I got over all that. I got past my cravings. Once you get past your cravings, I still made it for a while. I tapered down, and now I just might eat a beef stick every now and then, but generally I just grab butter if I want something in the, you know, I feel like a little pick me up. I'll get a little butter, but I don't snack, but maybe once or twice a day in between my 2 meals that I usually eat. So I think that's just a natural progression, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, whenever you're getting over an addiction or cravings and things like that, there's just a small period, you know. If you can just get through that period, and like I said, you know, replace the bad habits with good habits, you know, it won't last. You know, you just need to stick it out. There's a saying in Japan, they say just gum butter, all right? And like gum butter just means like basically like, you know, just stick with it, you know, keep your chin up and just keep going. Don't give in to the cravings, and you'll find that the cravings, they won't last, you know.
Yeah. So that's something you have to do, is you're gonna have to get through cravings if you're starting out again, and definitely, you know, plan for it, because they will make you fall off. And don't look for that variety in your diet. I mean, when I came in, I was looking for cookbooks, I was looking for recipes. I even tried to make some. So I would make like meatballs, and I didn't make a carnivore pizza, but I thought about it. There's all these things you can make. But again, it's that whole buffet effect. It's like when you go to a Chinese restaurant, because there's so much variety, you're more prone to overeat. And that's the same in your weekly diet. If you have so much variety, you're prone to weekly overeat. And that's been shown in a study. Dr. Weidman, I believe, did it, or she talked about it in one of her videos. And you know, so eating the same foods over and over really does curb your overeating. And that's part of it too, because you start eating just the right amount of food and listening and trusting your hunger signals, because they're now reliable. They're not broken. Because when you're on this,
look, I was saying this morning too, I don't see the point in trying to mimic these junk foods that we're trying to get rid of with carnivore. You're trying to keep the same habits that you're trying to get rid of.
Exactly. Yeah, don't mimic what you're trying to not do anymore, right?
Yeah, it's a defeatist attitude. You're setting yourself up to fail.
Right. Daniel O'Brien, he's a Texan. He's here in the Austin area with me. Mindset: food isn't entertainment, it's fuel. That's good, man. That is the mindset. It is actually a biological function, no different than going to the bathroom. I know it tastes great and it's good to eat, but it's not entertainment anymore, and that's a huge shift.
Yeah. It's a source of nutrients, so that you can get your entertainment from other things, living life.
Yeah, there's a lot more to life than food. It's funny, every commercial you see, though, like I said, every resort, every cruise, every commercial you see is all restaurants in these, right? And like, this is the experience. You're going to go here and you're going to eat this great food, and you're going to be honest. I went out on a date the other night and had a ribeye, and it was not nearly as good as mine. I paid $50 for a dang ribeye that I can make better ribeye for $13.99. And my ribeye is superior. I would put it up blind taste test any day with any of you guys, and I guarantee you mine would win.
Yeah, I feel the same way, man. I remember the last time I got a New York strip steak at the Peachtree Westin Hotel in Atlanta, on the top floor up there on the 74th floor on their spinning restaurant. $88. I would have been happier with the 10 or $12 I would have spent on making one.
Yeah, you could have had like 6 of your steaks, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
I just don't eat out at all. Everything's home cooked.
I really don't either. But so when you're going to meet someone on a date, I'm kind of limited, right? Because I'm single. So when you're going to meet someone, what are you going to do, right? Go out for coffee, go out for a drink, go out for dinner, and I don't know any other way to meet someone. So that's kind of the way I do it. So I don't do coffee. I have gone and drank water while they drank coffee, but that was kind of weird too. But that's just the way it is. So luckily she's a carnivore, the girl I went on a date with. So it worked really well.
There you go.
Dante, this is the funny thing. So I use my YouTube channel now as a filter. When a girl contacts me and says, hey, or I contact her and we're going to chat, I say, hey, I'm a YouTuber. Before we chat, why don't you check my stuff out and we'll talk about it? And they're usually like, oh, yeah, that sounds really cool. You got a podcast? Great. I love podcasts. And then I don't hear from them. And I'm like, oh, that's perfect. That worked, right? It's a good filter right there.
Yeah, if she has a problem with you being a carnivore, you want to run anyway.
This girl I went out with last night, I sent her that podcast, and she's responded back in like 10 seconds later of my YouTube channel saying, you interviewed Dr. Chafee? And I'm like, holy cow, she knows who Dr. Chafee is. I'm like, this is pretty legit, right? So, anyway, it was really cool. And I was telling these guys that I had to go buy pants because I have no pants that fit me anymore. And it's getting cold out here. So I went out and bought one pair of jeans because I don't want to buy more than one because I'm still shrinking. And I'm down to a 36 waist. And I think I'm going down to my college size, which is a 34. I really believe I am. So I have one pair of 36s. I got like 2 pairs of 38s. Those are the only pants I own now because I don't want to buy too much clothes because I keep going through it so fast, which is a great problem, right? That's a fantastic problem to have. I'm sure you went all the way. Now you're stabilized, right, Dante? Because you've been it for a long time.
I've bought a few extra shirts over the past few years that I never thought I was going to buy a whole bunch of anything. I think it's probably because I need to have variety for my channel because I'd be content just wearing the few that I bought for a while because I just got used to it. But get the clothes change took a little bit of time because I went through several stages of having to buy a new belt and then having to buy another new belt and buying multiple different sizes of pants and wearing the belt so tight around it because it was too loose in the pants for a while. And
let's keep punching new holes.
My workout shorts, I got to cinch them up so much. They're so loose on me. One guy thought I was wearing a kilt because they're
photo on Facebook. It looks like you're wearing a dress.
That was the thing. He's like, are you wearing a kilt in them? Like, no, these my pants are just like I've shrunk down. So I tighten that thing super tight just to keep them from falling off my butt. But I ended up broke down and went and bought one pair of shorts. I'm gonna buy a couple more pairs of shorts. I'm in the gym again now on a regular basis, and I don't want to look like a vagabond. So, it's good. It's a good problem. Let's see.
I don't care what I look like in the gym. I just wear rags.
Yeah. So another neighbor here, Beth, is she has a son that lives in Georgetown, and she lives outside of just north of me. So I'm here in Gerald, Texas, and she's just north. All right. Well, we're about an hour. Do you guys have a little more time, or do you need to cut short? We can cut out. It's up to you all. Do you want to have
good
questions?
Yeah, I got to cut out, but I mean, you guys can keep going. My wife wants to get in here and get settled in for the night. We actually had just driven back from visiting with family today.
Well,
so
Dante,
just walked
thanks so
in
much for joining. How can people get in touch with you that don't know your channel?
Well, of course, you can find me on Ferrigno Freedom channel. Just look up Ferrigno Freedom and you'll see me there. I encourage anybody who's coming for the first time, watch my very first video, 125 Days on Lion Diet, because it kind of says it all. But I try to give the perspective of somebody who didn't know there was a carnivore community or anything else out there. When I found this, I just happened to be recording what I was doing because I had started a YouTube channel for a whole nother reason. And I had like 300 subscribers back then, and then made a few videos about this, and it just took off like gangbusters. And the blessing for me is knowing that my experience changes other people's lives, because that's the reason I keep coming back, is finding out that more and more people say exactly what Larry said, is they saw my first video or second video and then said, well, he can't still be doing that. And then they find out I've been doing it 2 years, 3 years, and I'm still in the best shape of my life. So something must be working. And I want to help more people break free from this system that's got us grinding up between food and the drug world out there. It's just like they pump us full of food that's going to make us sick, so they can pump us full of drugs that are going to make us manage that sickness.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't want to see that go on. So if you're looking for the common sense worldview on what happened here, come on over to Ferrigno Freedom and let's talk about it.
Yeah, Dante's got a great channel. I've followed him for a long time. And Dante, if you had not made videos after that first one, that would have been the end of my search probably. I never would have gone further, because that was my check. So keep doing it. You're super valuable. You're reaching people through people like us that were influenced. Now there's like all these veterans coming on directly because you put that video out there and you continue to put videos out. So please keep going. So it's awesome.
It's awesome, man. It's awesome.
Yeah,
and I appreciate you carrying the word further down the road, Carnivore Soldier.
Yep. That's it. All right, brother. Hey,
all right, DC, you have a good night, sir.
And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year to both of you.
Yeah.
You too.
All right, DC. He's dropping off. Just us two. We can go a little bit longer, I guess, if you all want. Yeah, we got another vet here.
I'm good. It's up to you, mate.
Hank is another veteran. Cool. I encourage any of you all to please join my Facebook group, the Carnivore Diet Exchange. And
I recommend that. It's a good group, actually. If you guys should check it out on Facebook. It's very good. It's quite a large group now.
Yeah. That's a lot. All right, Fred.
There's a question at 06. Kimberly W. has a question.
Let's see. 06.
Yeah.
I'm going up. Kimberly W. Here you go. I'd like to know what you guys think of the raw dog food they sell naturally in paw store. Also, it's okay to give your dogs cooked carnivore food instead of raw. I've heard that it's okay. I give them raw because in the wild, dogs don't eat cooked food.
Yeah. Wolves
don't eat cooked food. So if you want to mimic a raw diet, there's a PMR diet. It's primal something raw or whatever. Anyways, basically it is the raw dog food diet. And I have a video on how I make my dog food. Is way cheaper to make your own. A 10-pound bag of chicken thighs makes about 8 pounds. There's a lot of water in it. Makes about 8 pounds of dog food. And 8 pounds of dog food here costs about $5.60. And so I spend about, I don't know, about $30 or $40 a month feeding my dog, and he gets the premium food with the bones. He has lots of, I grind the bones and everything, because dogs in the wild, guess what? They eat the bones too. They eat the whole animal. When they're getting a bird, they're eating it all.
They eat raw bones though. You don't give them cooked bones,
Not
because
cooked.
they fracture and splinter in their stomachs and throats and that. So they have to be raw bones. Plus they like leaner meats too.
Well, not only they like it, they need it, because they don't have the
Yeah.
fat requirement we have, because our brain is bigger. Our brain requires the extra fat.
That's right.
They don't require that. So that's why they can eat chicken and be totally fine with it. I do throw in frozen chicken hearts and gizzards every now and then to give him snacks, and that supplements the vitamins and nutrients he needs from organs. The cooked food, now I do give him some scraps from my plate occasionally. Rarely. I usually finish everything I eat, but sometimes I'll give him a couple scraps. And my son, when he eats breakfast, he scrapes the yolk into the bowl for the dog, the leftover yolk, and some bacon pieces usually, and the dog will eat some bacon and yolk. So he gets some cooked foods. I'm not gonna say it's totally bad, but all right.
Another one at 1209 from Renee.
09. Okay, going down. There's so many comments. We still have 122 people on here. This is the biggest. Here we go. This is the biggest group I've been on. So it's great. Larry, what about worms from raw dog food? Haven't experienced that. My dog has been checked out twice now, and both times the blood work was perfect on the dog. The coat was perfect. His weight was perfect. It's almost like if he eats the food he's supposed to eat, his body just works. So, that's, I don't know how he could get worms from chicken thighs, but maybe he could. I just don't know enough about it. But there is a web page. If you go to my video on making the dog food, there's 2 links to web pages. One is on a calculator for the PMR diet, tell you how much your dog should eat based on his weight. And then the other one is just a description and tells you about the PMR diet, like what it's all about, eating a raw diet for dogs, which is a natural diet that they're supposed to eat. And I did this because I had a friend that had an auto shop out here in Texas, and he had a dog named Pumpkin. And Pumpkin was a beautiful boxer, shiny, perfect, great dog, super smart. And I said, hey, what are you feeding Pumpkin? Because Pumpkin's looking really good, and I want to change the diet of my dog. And he's like, I don't feed that dog. That dog hunts. And they're right next to a field. And that dog just went out in the field, ate voles, moles, snakes, songbirds, whatever it got. And it just brought it back. And I'd see it sitting there eating a bird sometimes, just crunching on it. And that's what they're supposed to eat. So anyway.
Yeah. I know it's one of those things you don't really think about until you go carnivore, I guess. That we've been feeding our pets it's the same kind of manufactured garbage food that kills them. You see so many animals dying of cancer and other things.
All right, thumbs up, yeah, and follow and like and subscribe our content providers here: DC Learning to Live and myself, and of course Dante Fregno at Fregno Freedom. The description of this video when it's published will have links to them too. So. Yeah. Okay, my dog's doing great, but I was just curious. I Googled it and said they could. I would ask your vet, because I'm not a vet, obviously, and I don't know, but I haven't heard that yet. So the dog, when you can have them check your stool. Usually I've had dogs that had worms, and the worms are in the stool. You can usually see it. Now the stool from my dog eating carnivore is very hard. It's pellet-like. It's totally different than it used to be. It used to be soft and huge and just massive, because he's a 130-pound dog. He weighs more than the girl I went out with last night. He is big. And his stool was epic. It was like a huge, I had a shovel that I had to pick it up. Now I pick it up. They're like little pellets, and they're hard. And I just pick them up. They're not, if I step on one, it's like stepping on a rock. And they turn white in the sun. It's very much like scat that you find out in the woods. It's much nicer to clean up. Super easy. Is chicken enough for dogs, or do you need some beef, venison, etc.? Well, think about it. How many dogs do you think would eat beef or venison in the wild? Probably not many. Wolves maybe, but dogs, they're pretty much going to eat the smaller animals. They're not
Mostly
really
birds.
Yeah, they're so I don't think they need beef or venison. It's not going to hurt to give them a little bit. I mean, I give them a little, but I wouldn't feed them like ground beef all the time. That's not what they would normally eat. They would not eat a cow, right? A dog in the wild would never kill a cow. Even a pack of dogs probably wouldn't.
I mean, they might scavenge on it later.
Yes,
They don't actually pull it down. Yeah,
I agree with that, and that's like the hyenas do. If you've ever seen in Africa, after the lions are done, the hyenas come in and start doing it, right? And the theory, the theory is that the early humans did that too, because they were showing how much meat was left on the bone. They had anthropologists went out and checked and how much meat was left on a bone on a zebra after it was killed and eaten by both the lions and it was like 100 Big Macs worth of food as far as calories on there. So there's plenty of food for people to eat after everyone was done with it. Very interesting. Of course, all the good stuff was gone. The fatty stuff is all gone. The organs all gone because that's something they're going to go for.
Yeah. Well, they always go for the most nutrient-rich part. So there's no question at 14.
14? Okay. Yeah, they earned that kill, right? So they're going to get what they can. And they don't know when the next one's coming, right?
Yeah, that's right.
See. Okay. Is it a QQQ on this?
No.
I'm looking.
It's Kimberly again.
It's at 14. Kimberly. Okay. Oh, here we go. This one. I've been feeding my dog same carnivore diet as me. She's getting loose stool. Oh, so my dog had
fat.
Yeah, if too much fat, probably because they can't make the same amount of bile as we do, and they have the same process, right? They need to emulsify the fat with bile, and they don't have enough. It's going to go right through them. But my dog, listen, the first 2 weeks he did have loose stool because I went hard over from the terrible, crappy kibble, which is actually poison, to real food. And it took him, just like us, just like we do, the gut biome has to adjust, right? He's going to start, and he built that bacteria colony that now breaks down and eats, and basically breaks down your meat now and your fats. And so I would focus on giving him not the same thing as you every day because you have too much fat in your diet.
Yeah.
So
well, you should anyway. You should have if you're on carnivore, you should have a high fat diet. And dogs don't need that fat. They don't have the organs that we do to absorb the fat. And they don't have the brain requirement that we do for fat. So they're just going to have loose stools if you have a high fat diet on a dog. So they need lean meats.
Yep. Okay, so someone has a dog that lost their teeth. So my dog, I grind his food's ground. It's ground. It looks like minced meat, but it's ground chicken with the bones in it. And he doesn't have to chew it, and he doesn't chew it. He just laps it up and eats it. So there's a video on my channel of how I made my dog food under my recipes playlist. I recommend you take a look at it. You have to have a grinder, but it is really good. Now, giving him minced meat is probably fine, but it may be too much fat for him. So just be careful you don't give him too much fat. Let's see. My dogs eat chicken poop. Interesting. Okay. Any other questions?
That's funny. Dogs are funny. They eat poop, but yeah.
Here you go. This is Fred. Now Fred has joined my membership group. He's a team leader now, and he's a moderator on the channel. So for bad people get kicked off, but share Carnivore Soldier's channel with any of your service members that you know. Yes, please do. My channel is geared towards service members, but anyone, there's plenty of people that aren't service members that follow, which is great. I love it. But when there are service members, we do connect in a different way. And most, like I was talking about earlier, in the military and the first responders are the people that need to come my way. And the reason is because I can connect to them in a way they're used to hearing the message sent, right? We call it bluff in the Army, bottom line up front. I send it up front. I'm going to send it, and it's going to be direct. And they like that, and they appreciate it. And the other thing is they know I've been where they've been. I've done what they've done, and I have some respect for that. And it's important because as a class of people, first responders and military veterans, we are a warrior class. We don't complain. We don't show pain or weakness. We try to internalize a lot of stuff, and a lot of us are suffering internally in silence, and you don't know who's hurting. So just because Bob is a former firefighter or police officer and he appears to be doing good and he's retired, doesn't mean he's not sitting at home suffering, right? And he doesn't show it for you. He goes to church, he looks fine, but he could be really on the edge. So make sure you share it, and just give him, all you have to do is share it. You don't have to push it. Just share it. Hey, check this guy out. He's a chief warrant officer, retired. What do you think about what he says? And just share it like that. I think it's really valuable. It's a good tool.
Yeah.
All right. I've already connected to so many veterans and law enforcement stuff. It's an amazing feeling.
Yeah, that's really good. You know, there's so much, you know, first responders and veterans, you know, you're seeing so much trauma.
Yeah.
These are things that play on you. And especially when you're on a standard diet. We were talking about this morning, you know, it causes a lot of stress because you just can't think clearly either, you know?
Yeah. So what do I do with the chicken? So yeah, I get the chicken when it's out of the refrigerated section in the grocery store. I buy 80 pounds because my dog's huge. He's 130 pounds. He eats 2 pounds a day. Your dog probably doesn't eat that. If your dog's 50 pounds, he might eat 1 pound a day, right? My dog's eating 2 pounds a day. So I buy 80 pounds. I grind them up. I put them in 1 pound containers like these. And I have links to all this on my website and links, I believe, in the video description. But my website, carnivoresoldier.com, has links to the grinder and the containers. And if you're in the UK and you can't get it from Amazon, you can get it local, whatever. But I stack my freezer with his food, and everything's frozen. I don't refrigerate any of it. And what I do in the morning, I wake up, I pull 2 pounds out. I put one in the microwave and defrost it, and I put one on the counter and let it defrost all day. So when that one's defrosted, it takes about 18 minutes in the morning, and then I dump it in his bowl. He eats. He goes and lays down, does his thing. We go for a walk. That evening at 5 p.m., he comes and reminds me, hey, Dad, it's time to eat. He puts his nose right on my shoulder here and starts pushing down because he's huge. And I go, okay. And I walk in there and I get that one off the counter that's thawed out, and he eats it. So he eats them at room temperature, and they are raw, and he just loves it. He's really super healthy.
Does he get as hungry as he used to be on the standard diet?
He still is pretty hungry, man. I mean, he starts crying at the time. And it's funny. And this is something else. Okay, this is perfect. So when I used to look at him, even when I was feeding him the standard diet, the kibble, he would get just as excited every time he ate. Like it was like, I don't know, like his birthday or something. He's all excited to eat. And I used to wonder, like, why is he so excited? It's the same food. But guess what? He is living the reality that I'm now living, that food is not entertainment. It's a biological function. You get excited just to eat because it's time to eat, right? Not because it's an experience. For him, obviously, it's not an experience. He would get just as excited over a leather chew toy as he would, or kibble as he would the chicken. It's not like he's
So that's the reason you have to be so careful feeding dogs, because they will literally eat anything around the house. Like they'll eat the damn sofa, you know. So you just have to be so careful.
Yep, 22 a day. That's the official number, but that number doesn't even include. That's in the U.S. That's suicides a day for just veterans, not first responders. First responders,
that's recorded ones.
Yeah, and first responders fall under the same thing, but they have the same issues. But the 22 a day doesn't include drug overdoses, which a lot of time are self-medication, right? When people are depressed and suicidal. And then the other thing it doesn't cover is Texas and California don't report numbers into that, and those have huge veteran populations because their population is so big.
And it's not just that too. It's other related things. Food addictions do the same thing. That they're healing themselves with food. They end up with heart disease and all sorts of other problems as well. It's pretty much doing the same thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of things so carnivore is great for PTSD. I've talked personally to many veterans that have treated their PTSD with carnivore and are off drugs, which is great. I mean, because there's a cocktail of drugs they'll give you at the VA. So for sure.
I mean, I'm proof, it heals your brain, it heals your mind. It really does.
Kathy, your sister, send her my video and say, hey, check out this Chief Warrant Officer, you know. And I mean, I retired in 2019. I'm still pretty contemporary. I've served from 84 to 90 and 2004 to 2019. So I had a break in service, but I served in the Reagan years, and I also served recently. So I know the experience. And I would just say, hey, check this guy out, man. Check out his. I have some PTSD videos. I have veteran videos on a channel called a playlist and podcast. It's a podcast too, so if she likes podcasts, she can listen to it. It's called Mission Carnivore, where I interview first responders and veterans who have gone carnivore and turned their PTSD, their depression, their anxiety off, and now can go out in crowds, can enjoy life again. I got another one coming up with Kat from Meat Fueled Living. She's a Army vet too, so we have a lot in common. And she had PTSD and severe anxiety, and now she leaves the house. She never left the house. A lot of us self-isolate too. That's a veteran and first responder thing, I think. So we isolate in our house because we don't want to be part of the crowds. We just don't want to deal with all that.
Yeah.
So I turned her on to my channel or my podcast, and my podcast is Mission Carnivore. In my channel, I have a playlist, Mission Carnivore. So
a lot of the medications that people go on cause a lot of the problems as well. You know, if you go on antidepressants and things like that, they really cause a lot of harm too. So you know, these are things we need to try and steer people away from as well.
Cool. He ordered the container. Yeah, I see one. Is this the first one you see, B-Dog?
Yeah, 24. Yep.
Okay. Best video to share with a soldier friend. I'm trying to get him to start keto, type 2 diabetic, on insulin, sticking PTSD. I would send him, actually, it's a UK soldier, George. My first video, or it's probably my second. It might be my first or second video. George Goodenough, a desert rat from Operation Desert Storm. So he's a 90s vet. So I served with him too, even though, like I said, I served contemporarily, like new, but I also served back then. And he he reversed his type 2 diabetes. Now, he didn't have PTSD, but he was very sick. They had what they call Gulf War syndrome, which I believe they just don't know what that is. So they thought it might be nerve agent. It was all kinds of different symptoms.
They gave them all these experimental vaccines before
we all got the vaccine. But here's the deal. I think these symptoms were mostly metabolic syndrome symptoms. And, you know, it was new because, listen, that was in the 90s. The diet changed in the 80s. So we had 10 years exposure. And then all of a sudden these strange symptoms that we all accept now started coming on. And they're like, what's all this weird? Because in the 80s, we didn't have this. In the 70s, we didn't have this. And now people are having all kinds of crazy things going on with their immune system, right? Autoimmune. And so I think Gulf War syndrome, you know, was triggered, or, you know, just happened to fall into that time when these symptoms started showing up. So all of them reversed. So he's completely back to normal. Like he says, I'm back. And he is. So no more type 2. So I'd share that one for George. PTSD, I have another guy, a more recent one, and it was Rob. He was another UK soldier in Afghanistan and Iraq, and he had PTSD severe, really bad. Yeah. And now it's totally gone. So that's another good one. So I would send those 2 videos, say, hey, check these out, or podcasts. They're podcasts too. So
yeah. Well, you know, military guys are usually the first ones experimented on, you know.
Yeah, that's true. That's, you know, the Navy dive tables. You know where those come from? You know what dive tables are if you scuba.
Yeah.
Those come from sending guys down and having them come up and see if they get the bends. That's how they figured out the dive tables, because there was no other way to do it, really. And they would send guys down and bring them up after 15 minutes or 20 minutes. Okay, go down to 60 feet and come up after 30 minutes. And they'd start getting the bends. Like, all right, here's our dive table. So that's where the A, B, C, D, all that comes from actually doing it on military guys, giving them the bends. Yeah, it is. But, you know, that's the way it is. So how many pounds of meat
we need to change in it?
How many pounds of meat do you typically eat in a day? What about you, DC? There's another DC here, apparently.
Hey, DC. I eat about 2 pounds a day. But I am 5'7" and 200 pounds. So,
and your physical activity. Tell them your physical activity.
Okay, let me see. Mornings, I get up, I do deep breathing exercises. I do 10 sprints on the stationary bike. I do like every minute on the minute. I do 15-20 second sprints. Then I go to the gym. I'll maybe have a snack, depending on how hungry I am. If I might fast before gym, but if not, I'll have a small snack like some bacon or something before gym. And then I come home and I'll have my main meal will be about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And that'll be like all meat and eggs. So I have about 2 pounds of meat and about 5 or 6 eggs, plus up to anywhere up to 10 eggs in a day, depending on the activity for the day and how hungry I am. So that's about me.
Yeah. So me, I'm eating when I wasn't working out, when I was just walking, which was the first 6 to 7 months I was on this, I started out eating a lot and I tapered down to where I was eating the last month about 1.5 pounds of beef. And I'm 6'3", 235 pounds, 234 pounds. And I was just eating 1.5 pounds of beef and some butter. I would eat butter. I'd snack on butter. So that's what I did. Now that I started lifting again, I'm over 2 pounds of beef a day, usually a ribeye and then ground beef. Maybe some meat sticks I'll eat occasionally. And yeah, so that's what I do.
I eat quite a bit of fat. So
yeah, a lot of fat. I eat a lot of fat because I feel better on it. I know my body needs it. Fat is huge. So Eric Carnivore RN's on, and he's got another great Mission Carnivore story, and he did have some PTSD issues too, and anxiety. So that's another good video, and he's a U.S. Army. So if you want an American soldier with PTSD and stress, anxiety, and depression, that's a good one. Okay, YouTube, and then oh, we got another vet here. So
yeah, Rhonda,
I was stationed in Alameda in the Navy. I started in the Navy. I was on submarines for 6 years, from 84 to 90 during the Cold War. So I was actually in Alameda in 89, and I went to Travis to shop there because I was living in Fairfield. If you know where that is, I'm sure you do if you're from there. And I used to go to the commissary, so we might have passed by each other. And when I was hospitalized at the Air Force once for an injury at Travis. So yeah, that's cool. That's a pretty small world, right? Please, Rhonda, do get in touch with me and join and follow my YouTube channel and possibly my Facebook group if you get a chance. My email address I'm putting in the comments right now. So any veterans or first responders, please feel free to email me and join and follow the channel. It's simply carnivoresoldier@gmail.com. So it's not like it's hard to do.
Yeah, I recommend anyone who wants to be part of a good carnivore group, get on Facebook. Yeah, Larry's got a great group going at the moment. It's quite a lot of people in there, so come and check it out.
Yeah, on the Facebook group, it's called the Carnivore Diet Exchange, where it's an exchange of ideas and it's very positive. Not a lot of dogma there. We're not, judging people for not doing, 100% pure carnivore. We're just trying to be supportive and answer questions. Okay, glad you're all mentioning vet and suicide. FR suicide. Friend just left us because of his health problems. My why has changed drastically. Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. It's first responders. First responders like ambulance drivers, paramedics, they actually see much more trauma on a daily basis than soldiers do. And we see friends and stuff. It's a little different, and then actually, if you look at the suicide rates in the military, there's a higher suicide rate for soldiers that have never deployed than soldiers that have. So PTSD is not the primary driver; it is a driver, and there's other drivers too. But diet is the primary driver. I'm going to say. I think diet has moved the fulcrum of the tipping point over, so that it's much easier to do the suicide than it was before. Before, like now, I can handle so much more stress calmly, and being intelligently than I could when I was more reactionary.
It just doesn't stress you out as much anymore, does it?
No, it doesn't. That's the thing. I don't get nearly as stressed.
Yeah.
Another veteran. There's Eric Carnivore RN. He was an LPN in the Army. enlisted and officer. So good dude. Lives in Florida. Great guy, man. Check out his story on my YouTube channel. Let's see. Eat 1.5 to 2 pounds of meat per day, half pound of bacon in the morning, ribeye steak later, maybe a pound of ground beef. Cool.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, whatever you need. Yeah, do what's right for your body. You got to become the expert in your body.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, everyone needs to experiment. Larry and I were talking about this morning. You have to. It's not like one size fits all. Okay, we all need to find out what works best for us. You know, like for me, I work best on beef, but I like lamb as well because it's very fatty. I have a much higher fat content in my diet than my wife does, and she prefers pork. You know, so you know, you need to work out what's best for you.
Yeah. So my brother has Gulf War syndrome. The best explanation I found is mycoplasma infection, targeted mycoplasma. So here's the deal, though. This is the thing. The thing is, if you get the standard American diet out of your body and start eating real food, your immune system and your body will actually start healing things. It could probably handle these problems. That's what it did for George. George, all his symptoms went away, all of them, including type 2 diabetes. So I think what happens is we're just so inflamed. Like, listen, I got you can't see it anymore because it's gone, but there was a scorpion sting here I got in the field in the Army. And it was a lump of scar tissue for years. And it would never go away. It's a giant lump right here in my forearm. And after being carnivore for 6 months, I looked down and it was gone. The scar tissue went away because guess what? My body's actually working now. It's actually healing and repairing things that had been on the back burner. You know, that's been way back in the lower priority because it's trying to fight off inflammation 24/7 every day, right? And fight off all the stuff I'm putting in. I'm putting poison in all the time. And my body is just fighting and fighting and fighting to keep that poison from killing me. And it's not healing up. So injuries piled up, right? So I think if your brother who has Gulf War syndrome actually went to a clean, like lion diet for 60 days, you would be amazed at the changes that could happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
the endocrine system, right? The endocrine system basically gets
endocrine system. Yeah, that produces your hormones and things like that. But yeah, you have to feed your lymphatic system first, and that lymph fluid comes up, and you know when it reaches your thymus and it starts producing T cells, and then that's where you get your hormone production and everything like that. Helps your thyroid, everything. It all starts with the lymphatic system in absorbing the food that you eat. That's why it's the problem is we feed it these oils instead of fats that are poisoning our system, and it's poisoning our everything afterwards. But talking about healing your immune system and things like that, after my transplant, about several months after, they started injecting me with all these vaccines, childhood vaccines that try and boost my immune system, because my immune system was pretty much flatlined, but it was starting to recover. But then these vaccines just flatlined my immune system again, and it took me 5 years to recover from those injections. On top of everything else that I was going through, like after the transplant, I was already stuck in bed anyway. But these these things that they're experimenting us, or using us for like guinea pigs sort of things, they are absolutely destroying our system. We don't need them. Our bodies are perfect if you give it the right food. Like I would have a cold would nearly kill me. It would last several months. Sometimes up to 6 months, because I just start to feel better, and then it would just come back on again. I just couldn't get rid of it, and it would last me that long. But since being on carnivore, on a high fat diet, because I've been feeding my lymphatic system so well, a cold, when I first started carnivore, it lasted me 2 days, So that is a massive difference.
Well, now I don't even get colds. I have not had one. And it's pretty amazing, because by now by December, 100% chance, 100% that either in the summer or the fall or leading up to Christmas, I would get sick once. I have not, and I even took care of my son. Who
every
had
time the season changes.
Yeah, and it's
every time the season changes. Yeah, and it just comes down to the food, and you'll know, like, if you deviate, if you go off the carnivore diet, you, like you said the other day, Larry, like, even in a small portion, you feel it the next day. You're gonna know it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. See if we got any more questions. We can wind this thing up. Let's see. We got another one. Now I find I have CIRS. I think it's likely Gulf War syndrome, also tied to CIRS. Both my brothers might have CIRS too. Of course, they dismiss it because guys do. So men dismiss stuff more often. But listen, if Gail, have you been carnivore for a long time? I don't know, what is CIRS. Do you know? DC?
No,
I'm not sure what that is. It's some kind of syndrome, apparently, I guess. But here's the deal. Like we said, going carnivore will enable your immune system and your body to just heal.
It will.
So
really will.
give it a shot. Like my son said, when he went carnivore when he was 14. When he was 13, he's 14 now.
Okay. And it's chronic inflammation response syndrome.
Okay. So it sounds like an autoimmune issue, right? It does. Probably going to be fixed with this. If you go, lion diet for 30, 60 days. Now, there's not medical advice or anything. I'm just saying, check out Dr. Barry. He probably has a video on it. He has an autoimmune video.
Well, again, it's inflammation syndrome. So it's, carnivore is the most anti-inflammation sort of diet you can go on. The most anti-inflammatory diet you can eat is carnivore. So it's going to help anyway. I'm not saying it's going to cure anything, but it's certainly going to improve the situation. That's for sure.
Oh, Kathy was stationed in San Diego at Chula Vista. So I was actually on my submarine. I was in Subron 11, which was Submarine Squadron 11, which was out of San Diego in 1984, 86, or whatever. And, I ended my career in Alameda because we were doing refueling in the shipyard. But when I was stationed in Point Loma, which is at the end of Rosecrans Drive, and I lived in Ocean Beach, and I had the great bachelor life living on the beach. Fantastic time as a young single guy. It was fun, just running on the beach in the morning and jumping rope and just working out in the sun. If I'd only known about this diet then, though, who knows where I'd be right now, right? Let's see. My dad's father was stationed in San Diego in the 30s, joined the Coast Guard and artillery in the Army. Cool.
Yeah. My whole family were Navy, actually, until...
Oh, really?
My old man did 20 years, but then he worked for the Department of Defense in the Army. When he left the Navy, he worked as a civvy, and I worked in two Army bases here in Brisbane while I was working through college. I was doing servicing on the old diesel trucks and things like that.
Cool. Hey, CJ Sanders, U.S. Navy vet here, did 4 years, 17 to 21, signing back up in reserve soon. Still trying to figure out good numbers on how much to eat for a carnivore lifestyle. So here's the thing. I don't follow any numbers. I track no macros, never have. When I say a couple of pounds of beef, just because I know what I'm pulling out. But what I do is once you've been carnivore for more than 90 days, you just trust your hunger signals. You eat whenever you're hungry. And actually, even when you start, you eat whenever you're hungry. And then you eat until satiated, and you eat fatty meats with salt and drink water. And that's all you do. And soon you'll just find the state that your body wants to be in.
Yeah. A lot of problems that people have when they first start is they're not eating enough, because they tend to think that they'll eat the same portions of meat as they did with the rest of the meal. So don't be afraid to eat a lot of meat. And the one mistake I made first starting out was not eating enough fat. So try and increase your fat, and you can't eat too much fat. If you get too much fat in your diet, you're going to go to the toilet more, and that'll tell you when you're having too much fat. But there's also a difference between solid fat, like eating butter, and already cooked sort of liquid fat that you get from the steak after cooking. All right, so after cooking it, all that liquid state fat will just go straight through you. Okay, you'll be going straight to the bathroom. But you can eat butter all day, like a solid state fat like butter. You or even just beef fat cubes cooked. You can eat that all day.
All right, Fred, he's our new moderator and my member. He has 10 years active Army, 8 of them in 82nd Airborne. Shout out to your knees and back, because I know you're jacked up. I got my ankle injury. I got my ankle injury in the Army, and I mean in the military, and people like ask me like, "Oh, were you jumping? Were you airborne?" I wish it was a really cool story like that. Yeah, I was coming down, and I a night jump, and I did my ankle, because a lot of guys do that, but it wasn't. But still, got out with hypothyroidism after first Gulf War. Okay, well, good, man. So glad you got out. Glad you survived. Glad you're on the right track. And from what I understand, you're in the Caribbean. So Dave and I were kind of jealous of that. We were talking about how nice that would be to have that constant 78-degree temperature all year round, and just open the doors and let the winds blow in from the sea, right?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to be wrapping this up in a little bit, but we got some more questions here. So
like everyone, ribeye's a great steak if you can afford it. Like if you don't have to get the most expensive cuts of meat either. Ground beef is fine. You're going to get the same results. Honestly, they may not be as quick, but they will eventually come in. Not everyone's going to have the wonderful results like the first couple of weeks or months or even years. It does take time, but the thing is, it will happen. Right? It will eventually happen, no matter what, as long as you stick to it.
Yeah, and you don't need to. I mean, there's the whole argument of grass-fed versus grain-finished. Don't worry about that when you start. I don't eat any grass-fed, grass-finished beef, so I just eat the stuff that's cheap, and I've gotten all my results from 280 pounds to 234. Amazing results, amazing fat. Now, and actually, Dr. Baker just did a video. So if you disagree with this, don't take it up with me. Take it up with him, because he's the one that read the study that said that's negligible difference between grass-fed and your standard corn-fed beef you buy in the grocery store. So, also my experience agrees with that.
Yeah, most of it, like standard beef, actually is mostly grass-fed raised, but they just finish it on grain.
Yes, for like a month or two.
Like up to 3 months. Yeah. And so the difference really is negligible. And because the animal does, I mean, cows have 4 stomachs, they process things so much better, like that sort of crap, so much better than we can. It really is, very, very little difference.
They're just a machine for making good fat and protein for us. That's what they are, with that ruminant stomach.
Yeah.
So what's the deal with sunburn and ketosis? So I think it's not ketosis. That my theory, and I don't know, there's probably some studies on this. I know I'm more resistant to sunburns, and some people are very resistant. And I just believe it's your body and your mitochondria and your systems are just your biggest organ in your body is your skin, right? So just like all the other organs are affected, your skin's affected by this diet too. And it's optimized, right? Your cells are working at peak performance. And I think that they protect you.
Yeah. Well, next to your skeletal muscular system, the skin is the next biggest organ, and it absorbs everything, But when it comes to sunburn, it's not so much the ketosis. I mean, I think it might help, but it's actually vitamin D. Vitamin D that you get from fat, and K2 and other vitamins and minerals that you get from fat is like a sunscreen. And when you sweat and you sweat out the vitamin D, that acts like a sunscreen as well. So you got a few things going on. You're being protected from the sun by vitamin D and these other vitamins that you get from fat, but you also recover a lot quicker. So I know when I go out in the sun, I'll go to the beach now, and I'll get a little bit red, and but it takes hours. It takes hours for me to get red, even a little bit, and the next day I'm just tanned again. So it's all good. And I never had that relationship with the sun before. Even growing up in Australia, growing up as a kid, if I got sunburn, it would last me, weeks. I'd go through that itchy, peeling skin stage, and I even had 3rd-degree burns on the back of my legs. That's one stage when I was a kid from sunburn. I just had no problem at all in the sun now. So.
Yeah, me too. I did get a sunburn when I first started carnivore because I wanted to put it to the test, and I went out in the Texas sun in the pool for like 6 hours and just fried, and I got burned. It wasn't terrible, but so I would not do that. I would not sit in the pool for 6 hours and just reflect all that sunlight on you in Texas, where it's, we are south of San Diego.
Well, I've spent like 3 hours at the beach in the salt water, and I come back and it's absolutely no problem at all.
Yeah.
But that's since that my vitamin D levels have been optimal. Have been quite high, because I have my blood test done quite frequently every few months because of my condition. So these are things that I get tested all the time, and that's been the biggest difference.
Yeah, the elimination of seed oil helps with the sun. I think that the elimination of seed oil, what you're really talking about is healing your mitochondria. Your mitochondria is normalizing, right? That's really what the seed oils are doing, is they're damaging your mitochondria on a regular basis continually, and your body's continue trying to fix it, right? And then damaged mitochondria leads to cancer, leads to a lot of other issues. So
there's a lot of things going on. You're right. Like the elimination of the seed oils really helps. I mean, that helps with everything, but the increase in vitamins, fat soluble and water soluble vitamins that you get from meat are another big thing. And like I said, vitamin D3 especially is like a sunscreen, and it really does help your recovery and absorption of other vitamins and minerals, help you recover from everything, including sunburn. So, yeah.
All right, guys, I think we'll wrap it up here. It's been almost 2 hours again. This is crazy. We had a 2-hour stream earlier today, but we had such good conversation, man. There's so many good things going on, and we still have 93 people watching. This is crazy. What a great night. Hey, happy New Year's. And set up your goals next year. You have a couple days now to figure out your why. Figure out a why that scares the hell out of you. Like if you missed it, that's what you need. A why that you think, hey, if I didn't do this, I might get cancer, because you might. And not that you won't ever, but I'm just saying, you want to prevent cancer, you want to prevent Alzheimer's, you want to be there for your son's graduation or grandchildren, you want to meet them, whatever. Just make your why that big where you wouldn't dare jump off this thing. So work on that.
Make a don't just make a resolution this year. Make a plan. Okay. And stick to it. I'm going to be doing a talk on this soon, actually, because a lot of people make resolutions and they sort of fall by the wayside within the first couple of weeks of the year. Write them down. Keep them somewhere you can see them, and keep revisiting them. And just keep in mind what your goal is and why you want to do it. Okay, that will help a lot this year. So, from that, Happy New Year, everyone. I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas with your families and friends, and or if not, just even by yourself.
Yeah, I'd like to say one more thing. I'd like to say one more thing on that. Every other year you've made a resolution to lose weight or whatever, to get in shape, but you didn't have the tool to do it. You had the gym membership, which, like I said, I was in the gym today looking at people that are eating the standard diet, doing the work. They're doing the work, but they're not getting the results. And every other year you did this. You said, I'm going to get in shape this year. You joined the gym. You bought the exercise gear. You started day 1, day 2, but you ran out of motivation, didn't get results, blah, 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 and you fell off. This is the first year, if you do carnivore, that you have the tool, the vehicle that will get you down the road to where you want to go. So take advantage of it. And if you are, making that goal, like David said, so do that. Use this tool. Use it. It's awesome.
That's right.
All right. That's all I got, guys.
All right, guys.
We're going to end the stream. Thanks a lot. Appreciate
Thanks for joining us. Have a
Thanks
great day.
Us, Dave. Yep. Like and subscribe and all that. Talk to you later.